psychology. Can somebody explain to me why all this blackology? Is this the culture's community? Every discussion rooted in blackology, fueled by the lack of basic integrity. Case in point, you know who I mean. High level foolery, dress up as a dream. Nostalgia trap, always reliving history, but missing the methodology and the consistency. Name drops heavy just to spark up the flame, but scholarship ain't just remembering names. Smoking mirrors, performance, artistry, debate, turn feed in my intellectual honesty. You say build, but what are you building really? If it's not grounded, it's just sounding silly. What's your ideology? Can somebody explain to me why all this blackology? Is this the conscious community? Confusion rising, no clarity, just noise wrapped in false authority. What's your ideology? Yeah, somebody explain this bit. Promoting theaters with no accountability. Cherry pick claim justice credibility. Confirmation bias, that's the strategy. Ignore the data, rewrite reality. Call yourself a scholar, that's a travesty. Is the method system, that's not mastery. You can't read plain sight, culturally the call it truth. That's not how it be. Sound saying no, just mythology. That's the word repeatable, that's the policy. You burn the lines, create mythology. Then package it up as black technology. Now it's energy, now it's destiny. Now it's outside at the fetal legacy. But inheritance ain't validity. Yourself out to show that wisdom and stability. What's your ideology? Can somebody explain to me why all this blackology? Is this the conscious community? All I see is fantasy, no rigor, no transparency. What's your ideology? Still waiting, explain to me. Try to put the map, rewrite biology. Got check quick, that's reality when evidence is. No apologies, vivid again. No mythology, squint your eyes. Disguise the lies, but truth don't bend to theatrics and cries. The crazy or not, that don't move me. If the logic's weak, I see it clearly. No ideology, I stand on method. Test to reclaim, cross-check, then hit it. You want truth, then you gotta respect it. Not just protect it when it's convenient. What's your ideology? Yeah, that's the question lately. But if it ain't grounded properly, it just knows and it don't faze me. Yeah. That's the question lately. But if it ain't grounded properly, it's just noise and it don't faze me. Well, check the credentials. You lack the literacy for this level. Listen. Niggas doing they best, try to bless me. Try harder, keep failing the test, got no pedigree. Pushing killers, top dog versus ticks and fleas. Hit them all, trendsetters, everybody follow me. Line up, I make you beg for your life, praying on your knees. Lord, help on little dudes, ain't on my level, too hot, 33 degrees. Just so cold with it, watching niggas freeze. Psych cop, bubbly, flim, lemon, nigga please. Got everybody talking science, but they can barely read it out. Said the ignorance is like a fucking disease. I'm really starting to question the mental capacity. Are you home? High school dropouts wanna compete with me. It's a clown, get your gate up. It's a long condo where I be. Trying to retrofit the data just to match your prophecy. Claiming ancient secrets, but it's really just a wage stretch. Hard to learn a lesson when you're dying just to preach. Let's dismiss. Top floor view, stay grounded. Can't hide when you sit at the top. Live you if you're coming for the spot. Got the target on loud. Grounded in my game, steady as a rock. Ain't hard when you sit at the top. Live you if you come for the spot. Missiles ain't got the target on loud. Grounded in my game, steady as a rock. Welcome to Ced Talks, where we separate fact from fiction, mess it up a minute every time. This that Ced Talk, yeah, we said it straight. Cut through the noise, elevate the debate. No pseudo talk, no foggy claims. Just evidence-based when we build these frames. Ced Talks, yeah, clarity first. If it ain't got method, it probably won't work. From ancient knowledge to modern science, we draw that line, that clear define. They say the ancients had science. Hold up, pause. Knowledge ain't the same as methodological laws. Observation, yeah, but control tests rare. No predictive models, you gotta be fair. We respect the past, but we keep it exact. Precision matters when you deal with facts. Astronomy grew, astrology split. One stayed empirical, one lean myth. The shift came through naturalistic method. Just standing of eyes, that's how we embed it. Not culture bound, not tied to a place. It's a universal tool for the human race. This got Ced Talks, yeah, you said it straight. Cut through the noise, elevate the debate. No pseudo talk, no foggy claims. Just evidence based when we build these frames. Ced Talks, yeah, clarity first. If it ain't got method, it probably won't work. From ancient knowledge to modern science, we draw that line, that clear defiance. They blur definitions, start moving the goalposts. Turn fried to a claim that don't hold close. Science ain't on, this a process refined. Independent of culture, space and time. You can't redefine it to fit identity. That's how you lose all epistemic integrity. We test every claim, we don't just believe. If it can't be verified, we don't receive. From early observers to labs today, it's rigor and doubt that paved the way. Not name dropping scholars to win a debate, but data and method that validate. So what's your ideology? That's cool to ask, but truth ain't decided by the loudest class. We question it all, no sacred ground. If it don't hold up, we break it down. This that Ced Talk, yeah, we live in direct. No fear in the facts, just intellectual respect. No more, no mirror, no fantasy, just truth, logic, and consistency.
Welcome to the show. You know what I say? Scientific literacy is the vaccine against the charlatan, the scammers, the hoodwinkers, the fakers, our community. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me shout out the people in the chat. Always, Miss Belisha. Thank you. The Black Panthers Pseudo Killer Army. I see them. Marion in the building. King Sosa in the building. I see Lady Tiff in the building. The Black Widow herself. I know Juju is in the building. Let's go. Interesting times. I am at the end of my journey. I set out during this exercise to get into the history of science and the philosophy of science. New words has been entered into the lexicon: natural philosophy, methodological naturalism. Been here for 4 years waiting for the rest of them to catch up. Now we finally here. So now we can go into some more philosophy and understanding these concepts even better. Interesting subject came up in the earlier show. Shout out to the God Killer. Make sure you subscribe and hit the like button over there. He'll be in the building eventually. But philosophical naturalism. And on my slide, you clearly saw ancient, right? That's because I'm talking about the evolution or the development of these conceptual ideas. This whole conversation has been about a way of thinking. In semantic jargon, in miscommunication on purpose. They want to stay in the realm of natural philosophy where they get to make stuff up. We are methodological over here, and science does the speaking. We don't have opinions. We don't have, all we have is understanding of the methodology, right? And we translate that information as best we can. Now, we are human, so here and there are faults that can be made. And as pseudo killers, we come forward, acknowledge whatever error is there, and correct it accordingly, right? We clarify whatever mistakes is there because that is part of the scientific method. There is no pride. There is nothing to win. There's nothing to win. However, there's much to lose. Your integrity. Most of y'all have none. Brass, we still waiting on that video. Cheap metal. Cheapest alloy. Tell me the metaphysical state of mind that you need to produce metallurgy, cheap brass. None. But we still waiting on that video. See, you're a habitual liar, and that's why you shouldn't entertain this conversation. You're just here for the mockery and for the foolery, and you're a regression to the community. You trying to be a sonetta. You're a wannabe. You wanna be Unc. You wanna be sonetta. Why don't you ever come forward from behind that Discord and actually say what you think instead of being a hypocrite? We see through you, Energizer Bunny. And your main compadre, Chef, Chris is lying on me. All the while, not actually tapping on the sources. Medieval science. You're the biggest fool in this whole conversation. And you showed your character. You showed your jealousy. There was never a moment that we didn't send him over to the barbershop. We always send him over to the barbershop. Go see how ridiculous they sound, how infantile and ignorant their whole diatribe. Right? We actually send people to you because we want people to see the difference. You know, you can't handle it. So what do? Don't go see them, y'all. It's Ced Talk. I told you already. Chat GPT is a tool. I use Gemini as well, Copilot, many of them. They are tools for me. They don't do my thinking like you. It says it right there in science. They are best described as natural philosophers. And what would it be in the modern context? Because I got to push my chat GPT because my cognitive dissonance is off overdrive. Since y'all was watching the slides, y'all know now factually that there is no methodological naturalism in 6th century BCE. Abreast. Oh, I can't believe he got caught out there like that. You know what the problem? These dudes pretend that all around sounding as ignorant and as dumb as you really are. Barbershop boys. One more you can expect. We're having an intellectual high level conversation. Y'all interject with your natural philosopher's mind because you're sitting there philosophizing. Hey, Stupides clearly indicated that. Reggie's a clueless monkey. Chef is a clueless Caterini. No, he's an emotional Caterini. Reggie is simply a clueless Caterini. Reggie has digressed trying to teach me about things I'm proud of. My ability to work with wild animals. Yes, parrots are considered wild animals. They're not domesticated, although born in captivity. Ced genoeg. Ced genoeg. That's another one of my expertise, dog training as well. Makes good money. Should try it, Reggie. Oh, no. You would be scared if you have to face some of the animals I face because you're a wimp, a wuss, and a crybaby. You know how infantile you sound and how stupid you sound. Go to Cambridge. It says science right there. But Reggie, you're the one that said natural philosophy, theology are not science. We agree. They are they are knowledge frameworks, right? From frameworks in which knowledge was gained. They went from mythological philosophy to natural philosophy. The human remained the authority. But you see, these conversations are way over your intellectual capacity. Your emotional engagement in these conversations is obvious. Your blackology is on steroids. And you have effectively tied yourself in a linguistic trap which you can never get out of, Reggie. You have effectively declared that the ancients had no knowledge because you agreed natural philosophy isn't a science, but you consistently equate science to knowledge because you want to do the boom, bam, 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 and you trip yourself up in your ignorance. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. You did it to yourself. I just had to sit and watch you crash and burn, being as ignorant as you are, being a polymath and everything that have absolutely no in-depth knowledge or understanding about absolutely one subject you open your mouth about. I was the one that shut you up with ekakak and kakakak and kakakak, is nuclear science, right? Because you remember you were claiming that the Egyptians could do nuclear science, so they were doing quantum physics, Reggie. Reggie, that's you, heck and kakakak and kukukuk and represents quantum entanglement and all that nonsense. That's you, Reggie. I don't forget. I just play along with the community. Since I accept this joke and this clown, okay. But never was there one moment that I had any respect for your intellectual prowess. So you always come up wanting. You are the impetus of this whole nonsense, Reggie. And there's where your responsibility in the community as a so-called elder got removed. Because an elder is responsible for educating, uplifting the community, not drowning them in the nonsense. You got these idiots talking about modern and pre-modern as if these prefixes have any significance in the conversation. I refrain, it's Sunday night, from using certain pejoratives. However, your ignorance is on full display. Your cognitive dissonance is on full display. Your Dunning-Kruger is on full display. So you will have to eventually have to let us know, Reggie, what it is. Which is it? Did the ancients have knowledge, which we could put under different branches of philosophy, mythological philosophy, then the evolution to natural philosophy, the epistemic rupture, and the development, the creation of the actual thinking about how are we going to engage empirically with nature. Francis Bacon, the architect. Is the architect a builder? Does the architect necessarily need to live in a house? Does the architect of a vessel to require knowledge? Let's use the analogy of a boat, a ship. Does the architect of the ship necessarily become the captain? Or the captain need a whole different type of preparation to steer the ship? Which is it? The one who invented the mast and the keel? Is he the captain of the ship? Does that make him a sailor? Because he uses ingenuity to produce a product that is part of a whole. You do not understand what epistemic rupture means. So that's why you're all here. I hope you're sitting, Reggie, get your popcorn so you can learn something. As you get older, you are becoming a jackass. You're making a fool of yourself. As we get older, nostalgia starts to kick in, and you need to realize when you're always hearkening to the past. The moment you start doing that, either you realize that your growth is complete, you can come on the panels, enjoy the conversation, say how interesting it is. But nobody needs to know that you're an expert by proximity because you knew someone that knew someone. That shit is out, played out, sounding ridiculous at this point. Nobody cares. Do yourself a favor, take a hiatus, go sit down somewhere, actually read some material. I told y'all this whole bill, this series, 5, 6 episode, is going to come from two sources: the philosophy of science and the history of science. Chef, I am not in grade school. We don't even need forces. I synthesize the information, Chef, because I know it. That's why I do these presentations and not read them shit where you catch yourself in the middle of the sentence looking like a jackass. That's not what happened over here. Okay? So, after my brief monologue, we have set the stage. Let's first finish up the series on the final step in establishing the scientific method, modern science. And then I'm going to get into uh, the uh, the linguistics trap, and I'm going to break that all down, take my time and dissect it. I've been watching it and preparing because once I'm finished with this conversation, I'm over. I teach. I do not debate y'all ignorance. Y'all gonna yap and make as much noise as you want. I have moved on. Tonight, This series ends for me because I'm not sitting there playing with my intellectual inferiors who just want to do a semantic trap to get a gotcha moment. You guys are trying to win. Science, there's nothing to win. Who are you trying to defeat? Because all you're doing is making yourself look stupid and kicking yourself in the mouth over and over and over. It has been a real comedy show. Thank you. The content y'all provided me with made making these series completely and very easy. I appreciate y'all so much. Let me share my screen and we get into these two presentations. Oh, no, not this one. First, this one. My screen is sharing. Okay, let's go. All right, we at the final stage of the picture. The institutional science and the peer review process. When knowledge became a system from individual genius, Newton and the likes, to collective verification. You see the growth process there? So the whole conversation about individuals who are in the process of developing this system, because it is a system. Y'all want to muddy the waters whether who was a scientist or not. You know how infantile that the whole discussion is? It's grade level. It's barbershop talk. I'm not interested in that nonsense. We've come a long way in this series. We started with natural philosophy, where explanations were tied to authority and intuition. Then we introduced methodological naturalism, the rule that limits explanations to natural causes. Then we broke down the scientific method, the process of testing ideas against reality. But here's the problem. Even with all that, one person can still be wrong. So the final question is, how do we make knowledge reliable? Not just for individuals, but for humanity. He's here the opening of Ced Talks. This is about humanity. This isn't about race. This isn't about a specific group. This is about a tool, a universal tool, a universal system that benefited mankind. That's where today's topic comes in. Institutional science and peer review. Let's be clear. Even brilliant thinkers make mistakes. Even careful experiments can be flawed. Even honest researchers can be biased. Human nature. Is full of geniuses who were simply wrong, including giants like Isaac Newton. This is not a flaw of intelligence, but it is a feature of being human. It is a feature of being human. Y'all can't fight against y'all biases. Y'all haven't developed the internal discipline to challenge your own reasoning. Chef made that clear. When I asked him, man, try and falsify your own position. He refused because he'd rather hold on to his belief than deal with the reality. So science needs something more than observations, logic, and experimentation. It needed a system that could detect errors, correct errors, eliminate errors over time. So now we're in the phase of crisis science, where we are now peer reviewing the entire process. Meta analysis has been a significant tool in realizing a lot of the issues within the modern scientific construct and are addressing them. Science is a self correcting process. This is where science transforms, not just as a method, but as a social system. Enter institutions like the Royal Society in 1660, Academia des Sciences in 1666. These weren't just clubs. They created something revolutionary, a community of verification. Scientists no longer worked in isolation. They shared findings. They challenged each other. They demanded evidence. And most importantly, they created standards. Now we get to the core. The core mechanism, the peer review, is simple. Peer review is simple in concept. Before a claim is accepted, other experts evaluate it. What has made that what that has that done? It made the process of self falsifying the paramount. So no longer do you want to prove your experiment right. You are going through all the processes to make sure it's not wrong. You go through the falsification process. Why? Because your colleagues are your opponents. It is a very competitive environment. Every day, a scientist goes to his lab trying to overturn Einstein. That's his whole dream. Now, that is counterintuitive, I know, but that is a peer review process. They ask, are the methods sound? Are the results reproducible? Are the conclusions justified? If it fails, oh, hmm. But peer review alone isn't enough because a paper can look good and still be wrong. So science added another layer. You see, the thunder the other day when Sosa was making the point that even in the early stages of the development of the institutions, they needed to go through a process too. They needed to go through a process, right? So it was a developmental process. It's not one thing. It's self-correcting. So you keep adding other layers to solidify the process. It get rejected, revised, or challenged. This is critical. Science is not validated by the individual. It is validated by the community. That's an important point. Replication. If a result is real, other researchers could be able to reproduce it, not once, not twice, but consistently. And based on methodological naturalism, where your cultural containers is completely out of the equation. It is purely the science. That means that this can be tested all over the world by different scientists and different continents and different places. This is what makes science powerful. Truth is not what one person discovered. Truth is what survives repeated testing by many. Now we reach the turning point. Before institutional science, knowledge depended on individuals. Authority carried weight still. You realize that, right? You're in that transition. The natural philosophers are the ones transitioning. They are creating this body. So they have a lot of authority still. Errors persist for centuries. How much pseudoscience do we know exists? So when y'all having these conversations in a vacuum, and Sosa explained it perfectly to Thunder Bro, that's in the early development. Early development. Early development. Well, you say he wasn't peer reviewed? Of course not. He's at the birth of this whole institutionalization. He's one of the founders. He is the authority there. How much peer review you think is happening of his work at that point in time? It survived peer review later on because it proved to be functional. It proved to be correct and exact. But for the same effort, it could have been proven wrong by peer review or when challenged. So y'all need to slow these conversations down. I told y'all, read the history of science and study the philosophy of science before you get up here and making yourself ridiculous. After institutional science, knowledge became collective. Authority was replaced by evidence. So even at the point that you have the institution, you see why I'm so frustrated when I'm sitting there listening to Thunder yap on, yap, 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 yap. That's frustrating because you obviously are not acknowledging the reality. That means you haven't studied this. You see institution and you think, boom, it's ready. They got everybody all over the world, the faxes, the emails, it's all set up, the peer review people. Like, why would you do that in a conversation when the conversation started with the history of the scientific method? If there's a history there of the scientific method, we focus on prehistory so that you don't negate or take any part of human growth out of the equation. We don't get to start talking about this if you don't acknowledge the ancients and their work. Their empiricism is why we have a civilization and a society. Errors are systematically corrected. This is the final piece of modern science. And when we say modern science, I mean science. Modern means this way of collecting knowledge now. Modern science is our empiricism. The empiricism of the ancients was not ancient science. It was natural philosophy. Prior to that, it was mythological philosophy. Prior to that, it was animism. And that wasn't from necessarily for everything. The rest of it was trial and error. So it was a combination of animism and trial and error. You move on, you get mythicism. The gods did it. Still a lot of trial and error. We can see the development of the pyramids over time. Trial and error. They had technology, yes. Who said not? Are we blind? Isn't this a pseudo killer community of skeptics? What have we been talking about all this time? We do the actual work, though. Let's continue. Now we can finally define science properly. Here now, step by step. Science is a methodology, naturalistic, systematically tested, and institutionally verified process of producing reliable knowledge. This is a completely different system. After today, I am not having this conversation again. Who don't get it, go and look at the series. I am not entertaining nobody's discussions. I am not answering no debate calls. I am not doing it. Go and learn. Not just thinking, not just observing, not just experimenting, a complete system. This is why science works, not because scientists are perfect. Oh, well, Newton, y'all engaging in individualism, which is completely redundant to the conversation we're having. You don't want to engage in speculation over a person's individual psychological status. Who knows? But because the system is designed to catch mistakes, even frauds get exposed. Piltdown man. Even bad ideas get filtered out. Racism, black, all these social constructs that have no merit in science. The Egyptians came from outside of Europe, of Egypt. Egypt was built by outsiders. They came in and saw a nice piece of land and said, "Oh, let's build a pyramid." That was bad science. Even strong theories get revised. The out of Africa theory, it's a theory, but it gets revised as our ability to map the genome and understand the data from haplogroups, etc., from our early ancestry DNA. That picture gets more and more clearer. So it gets revised, updated. It doesn't get debunked. Science is powerful because it is Why science is powerful because it is built to be wrong and then correct itself. This science is counterintuitive. It is built to be wrong and then correct itself. It has self-correcting mechanism. This is a philosophical framework. Science is counterintuitive. That sentence should tell you that this is a thinking thing, not the actions you execute. What is the philosophical grounding? Why and with which frame of mind? How do you look at the world? Is it authoritative? Is it because Aristotle said, well, Paley said, the arc of the reality is water. So, okay, then that's the framework we're going to construct our narratives in. That is having an idea, imposing it on nature instead of nature explaining to you how it works. This is backwards. It was as backwards. We're not there anymore. Again, it is built to be wrong and then correct itself. Let's bring the entire series together. Natural philosophy asks the question. Methodological naturalism sets the rules. The scientific method tested ideas. Institutional science verified them. And that is when science is fully born. You went from the gods to nature being mythical, then completely changing and reversing that concept to letting nature explain itself by its natural processes. No human idea, no supernatural agency, no metaphysical claims. Science isn't just a way of thinking. It is a system designed to make sure we're wrong less often over time. It is a system designed to make sure we're less wrong over time. That self-correcting mechanism. You keep getting it a little bit more right, a little bit more right, a little bit more right. Science is tentative. It doesn't speak in absolutes. All right. That's the first one. I got one more for y'all. And this is going to be the fun one. Now that we rounded up, we all understand the institutionalization of science. That has never been an issue, right? Now that we have completed the process, now that we are there, now we are going to look at all the confusion that has been caused in this community. We're going to look at the stupidity, the flimflammery, the semantic trap, the prefix fallacy. We're gonna dissect that. I stayed out of those conversations for as much as possible because it is mind-boggling. I hear Thunder doing it. He's trying his best. He's trying to separate modern science from science so that he can quantify ancient science so that they can win an argument. No, you cannot win an argument. There is no argument to win. Y'all simply wrong. You're just simply wrong. Just fundamentally, structurally wrong. And I said, before you get in this arena, you need to study, not read. Study those two documents. They are paramount in this discussion. Y'all are going to get lost in the weeds. So said, so done. Lost in the weeds. Lost in the weeds. Lost in the weeds. I told y'all, this is not a conversation for y'all. You're not equipped to have it. Not equipped to have it. Stand down. We doing our thing over here. We're teaching. Stay out of the way. Get out of the road. Brass pulls up some weird thing. I think it's Jamaican. Well, again, if you've been to my island, Brass, like you claimed you have, you would understand I'm not Jamaican, so I don't get the joke. It doesn't affect me. Does nothing to me. But I know you still cheap metal though. I know you're a habitual liar though. I know nothing that comes out of your mouth has ever been true. Not one single word. You are a habitual liar. Have you played that? Have you played that recording I made? Chef said you give it to him. Both habitualize, right? Can't expect nothing more from him. That's why you would straw man every conversation, do the hee 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 ha. And the whole time you're making yourself look ridiculous. People love to be entertained, sit and laugh at how stupid you guys are. The ignorance of stupids, you trying to be, uh, what is it, smart? Well, modern, the prefix is there for a reason. You're echoing Reggie. Bro, you're echoing Reggie. That's my argument. No, you're echoing Reggie. You know how sad that is? You who didn't want nothing to do with Reggie. How can y'all be affiliated with Reggie when Reggie, you did a show on the pseudo killers, try to implicate others when it was completely your idea. Now you cash up in Reggie for him to come and be the clown gesture. And don't you know the worst part is you echoing what he's saying. That is the ridiculous part. You had your little laugh, you got your moment. You know what's so cool? When I asked you, Brad, what's the difference between science and natural philosophy? You pretended that you were ignoring me or you couldn't hear me, but you honestly couldn't answer. That's not part of your script. You weren't ready to deal with an intellectual question. Just like when I confronted you on your lie and you said the dumbest thing possible. You have evidence of me making a recording, bro. I know I didn't make no recording, so you double down while lying. That is indicative of a habitual liar. And I'm gonna say something. I got proud. Corey's another one. Corey, get help. Get help, Corey. You need it. There is something for me completely strange about every time a man gets upset or gets in his feeling about other dudes, that the first thing he starts to have is homoerotic fantasies, imagining fellatio being done on male to male. How does your mind work? That's weird, bro. Y'all need to stop. Chef, just drop the word mothering. You sound illiterate. And you get upset when I say your emotional category with clips. Now y'all should understand the shot that's coming with that one. Because the cooking is going to happen just a little bit. Right? So, without further ado, let's put the last nail in the coffin of the scammers, flim flammers, hustlers, hoodwinkers in our community. Without further ado, I share my screen one more time on this whole topic. I am completely done. Done with this thing. There we go. Here we go. This is the fun part. Now we get to expose the monkeys in the barbershop for what they actually are. The semantic trap of ancient science. Let's get something straight because this confusion keeps showing up over and over again. People hear the phrase moderning, how chef say, uh, mod, modeling science, and they think, well, if there's modeling science, there must be ancient science. It sounds reasonable when you're in the barber shop. That's the only place it sounds reasonable, when you're in the barber shop. When you're philosophizing like stoopies. You don't like to talk to the pseudo killers. They all want pull sources and they want evidence. I want to be in a space where I can practice my natural philosophy and make shit up and be metaphysical in my claims and sound like an idiot. Because here's what really happened. You guys are taking the term modern, projecting it backward in time, presentism, and pretending nothing changed. But everything changed. That's not logic, that's a linguistic illusion, a semantic trap. You see, I know these philosophical terms, so but from the time you start doing it, I throw the word out there. That's a semantic trap. And I lay the groundwork for eventually, when I demonstrate what it is, the nomenclature has already been in the cognition of the community. So I've been saying semantic trap, linguistic illusion, flim flam. Reggie got himself so tied up, he has stripped away the ancients from even having knowledge. Disrespectful. Let's slow this down. When historians say ancient science, they are not saying ancient people were doing science. And y'all do that linguistic bait and switch, and I hear it, and it's the most annoying thing. Ancients had science. Then, yeah, but they were doing science. Reggie went as far as to make them having sloppy, messy observations. Whoa, presentism, Eurocentrism at its finest. You're looking down on ancient cultures. That's disrespectful. Let's continue. We're talking about early knowledge systems, you see? These words aren't invented. Observation about nature. Attempts to explain the world. We've acknowledged that. That's what natural philosophy is. You move the gods from the sky and you now put the divinity into nature and you explain it away. Deductive reasoning. Don't worry, the presentation is coming. It's necessary. People like Thales of Miltos asking, what is something made of? That's not science. That's natural philosophy. The discrepancy, what the young man accused me of having, is no discrepancy, and I'll explain it. That's because you're engaging in anachronism. When you try to make the claim that back in the day, religion and women together formed how they collected the body of knowledge. You try to separate the two in somehow as if their knowledge system was void of supernatural, void of agency. We know in that time animism was how they explained nature. So how are you trying to separate spirituality, religion, from the women being fundamental in establishing the natural philosophy or their knowledge, sorry, not natural philosophy, but their indigenous knowledge? How you try to separate them? Why? To make it seem as if their endeavor to connect knowledge about the natural world was purely systematic, and so they were practicing methodological naturalism. Rookie, you just started learning these words. You can't do that linguistic sleight of hand, not on your life. When you're going to get confused with simple words and commas. Come on, you tie yourself up in a knot. And natural philosophy is just not early science. Reggie illustrated that. He said it is not science, period. Not early science, not proto science, not a form of science. It simply wasn't science. And he was right at that point, but for purely incorrect reason. Because now, Reggie, since their framework for collecting knowledge, for their knowledge is philosophical, and you deem natural philosophy not a science, yet you want to make the equation one on one with knowledge and science. Go ask to Cambridge, write to Cambridge. It says it right there. It says, go right to Cambridge, you utter ignorant clown. I am obligated to refrain from using pejoratives, but there's one that comes to the mind right now, which is the DNF. It's a different framework entirely. No control experiments, no systematic testing, no institutional verification. We saw how long that process took in the last presentation. So when we say no institutional verification, Thales is 1500 BCE. Get the hell out of here. No commitment to methodological naturalism. Nature is the authority. That's not what Thales of Miltus was doing. That's not what the ancient Egyptians were doing. That's not what the medieval scholars were doing. They were building knowledge, yes, but within that framework, natural philosophy. Here, here. Natural philosophy. This is the framework they were building within natural philosophy. Yes, the Islamic golden age as well. And if you dare open your mouth about this stuff again, I'm going to dagger you there too. Because Anthony's going to beat you up on it and I'm going to do the kill shot. They were astrologers. Their astronomy was to find out when was the best time to pray to Mecca. Their framework was philosophical. It wasn't marrow ring. It wasn't marrow ring. So yes, we see healthy aspects of methodological naturalism by your boy, which you love so much, Ibrahim, whatever his name. I don't really care. Y'all love characters. I like concept. Yes. However, the framework he was under was philosophical. His Quran led the way. The framework up until then was natural philosophy. You ain't gonna get around it. There's an epistemic rupture that created the necessity to develop another system. Deal with it. Methodological naturalism says no supernatural explanations, no appeals to divine causation, no unfalsifiable claims, only natural causes. These unfalsifiable claims, we use the word metaphysical claims. These are interchangeable terms since I need to teach. Only natural causes that can be tested, measured, and verified. Was Stelius doing any of that? How did he come to the conclusion that water was an arc of reality? How do you even come up with an arc, a fundamental essence? You just think that up, right? Because it seems logical. This is the framework that even Aristotle was on 1,200 years later. Get out of here. When someone says, well, they use natural explanations, so that's science or that's scientific. No, that's the confusion. That's the trap. Stop it. Enough. Y'all are just annoying at this point. A simple irritant because you sound stupid. Everybody sees you're stupid, but you continue in the conversation because you get some views. All for the views. You want to look like barbershop dummies just for views. Man, that's a model to have. Because using natural explanations is not the same as being bound by a methodological commitment to naturalism. One is a tendency, the other is a rule. And here's the move, the sleight of hand. You call ancient knowledge science, Reggie. Then you treat science as a continuous category. And you use words like science evolved. No, science was developed. Then you hit us with the science on human beings have always, science has always existed. And the ancients, and they were, well, we say messy because the observations were messy, disrespectful, clueless monkey. Shut up. Sound dumb. Annoying with your ignorance. Go clean up your Black City plan, but Nubia, the Egyptians got their language from the Nubian. Damn scamming flim flam. No. What you've done, Reggie, is rename something and pretend it's the same thing. Astronomy, early astronomy. Early astronomy is a clock and a calendar. Things you find on your wrist right now. Depends on the chronography of your watch. You can tell month, date, year on your watch, and the time, of course. Ancient astronomy, Naphtha plier on your wrist. Is that the same thing we doing in astronomy today? Y'all, do you realize how dumb you actually sound, bro? Y'all don't really get it, right? Y'all embarrassing to black people. When the rest of the world hears y'all speak, and you know what they do, they're gonna look at the dumbest set, the barbershop boys, and equate all of us to y'all. Stupid's gonna be the worst of them, because they're gonna hear how dumb you sound. They're gonna say the island people, them ain't got no sense. Look at the island by itself. He a complete idiot. Crashing now because a philosopher defined a term within philosophy. Oh wow, man. Real gotcha moment. You practice that in front of the mirror, right? Cedric, I got you. Who developed the term methodological naturalism? Because the first argument they tried to have is the term was established in 1983. Therefore, nothing before that is science. I guess the redundancy in that claim dried up by itself, because I don't want to address stupidness. Now, stupid peas, stuck on stupids, comes up here, belligerent. You want why? Who? First of all, he don't even know what is methodological naturalism. Talking about some mathematical naturalism. I'm like, well, mathematics is used in science. Well, I never said anything about that. Didn't even know the term, bro. Just want to get a gotcha moment. It is a philosophical endeavor. It's how you think. So philosophers will define it. Methodological naturalism works. Why? Because despite of your religious belief, you can engage in it. How many times do you have to say that? Getting strong, man, calling out on claims I never made, sounding completely stupid. That I'm an atheist, that I'm a philosophical naturalist in the modern sense, stands apart from the discipline itself. Again, this is basic philosophy. In the slide, you saw ancient, right? Ancient. If there's an ancient, there's a modern. We don't see the distinction. I'm like, but I really have this in my slide. I shouldn't have even responded on the chat. Just tell them tune in. So let me make it plain. Calling natural philosophy science is like calling alchemy chemistry. It's like calling a horse and buggy a biological car. That's how y'all sound. It sounds right until you understand the method. Then you're going to realize, well, this don't make no sense. What are you talking about? And I think everybody's starting to see y'all full of shit. Reggie jumped out the window. No proto. Because proto means before. So if it means before, that means you're saying the ancients didn't have science? The ancients didn't have knowledge? When you realize the linguistic trap you're in, you maintain the position because you just need to be relevant, I guess, even as a court gesture. So here's the line. Clear and apologetic. I'm not saying it once, not saying it again. Ancient science is a historical label. Modern science marks the emergence of a method. Same word, different meaning. Y'all, I keep telling you, I write and speak 4 languages fluently. I do not claim the 3 or 4 others that I'm familiar with because I'm not proficient. I do not translate languages in my head. I think in the language I speak. Y'all are not smart enough to do the word flim flam with me. Not ever. Yes. Yeah. He speaks as if we're beneath him. When you engage in this subject in this manner, There's only one thing a pseudo killer is supposed to do: kill a pseudo. Now I'm gonna keep my foot on y'all neck, make you feel as insignificant as you actually are in this subject specifically. We do science. We were the boring guys. Y'all not gonna ever get views. Y'all don't know about content. We're gonna start TMI. Too much monkeys incorporated. Barbershop boys. We gonna spice it up. We gonna get views. We can start off by buying bots and make our channel seem like it's exploding. And then we'll be falling flat on our face. We go try trouble the science guys who over there minding the business, nerding out. Doesn't know you guys exist. A habitual liar won't come nowhere in my lexicon. Chef, the type of dude y'all gonna get in trouble with. He gonna pick a fight and say, I was only kidding y'all. So I don't take nothing that clown says serious. But y'all insisting. So take what you get, don't cry. Don't go up there tomorrow. See, he thinks he's better than us. No, y'all proved how dumb, insignificant, and irrelevant y'all have been in this whole discussion. Only noise. But great for content, though. Y'all are the content now. See? And if you don't separate those meanings, you're not doing history. You're not even doing philosophy. You are just playing with words, children. And words can be misleading to the point that Reggie tied himself up in a knot he's not able to get himself out of. Reggie, you disrespected the ancients. You claim that they don't have knowledge because you have proven that they don't have science. And if you equate science to knowledge, which you insist on doing, let us ask Cambridge, then Reggie, effectively, you have nullified the knowledge of the ancient people by your own semantic trap. Que lo dice? When you dig a hole for one, make sure you don't fall in it. Or dig two or whatever. You dig a grave for someone, make sure you dig two, one for yourself, and one for the rest of the clowns who falling out behind your lead. Monitoring science. Well, if you have the prefix is there for a reason. Right, so for the prefix is there. And this is my argument. Hey, shut up, you ignorant dummy. Cheap metal, cheap ass cigars. And you know you can't compete with me, cigars. I got no import duty, nigga. Now, it was on the slide, ladies and gentlemen. Philosophical naturalism brackets ancient. And somehow, this is in my slides. Pre-modern, especially Greek and Hellenistic tradition. Think of figures like Thales of Miletus, Democritus, Epicurus, and my boy Aristotle. Nature as a philosophical principle, not a method. Naturalism here means explaining the world in terms of psyches, nature, rather than myth. But y'all, I told y'all, go and read the philosophy of science. Come straight out of it. It shifts away from gods causing lightning towards natural causes, but largely speculative. We were talking about the switch from the spookism outside to the spookism inside. What is it at the end of the day? Spookism. I'm being a little harsh, but they were making it up. They were philosophizing. Arrogant bastards. Sort of like Chef. Lying and arrogance. Concrete Corey is arrogant because, well, he needs to. You know, when your manhood is in threat, you do that over puffing thing. Woman, sit down, shut up. I'm a real man. You can't talk to me like that, woman. I get my feelings because I'm a real man. No, your manhood in question, bro. And the way you articulate yourself, I know you need some help. You need to come out of the closet, bro. Just come out. It's 2026. But have those conversations around your peers and your like. Don't be talking about real dudes like that, bro. We just look at you as nasty and weird, but still largely speculative. No methodological naturalism. That framework didn't exist. You see that framework? That framework, beautiful word framework, is essential. There is no structured experimental system. No controlled experiments, no peer review, no institutional science. You see when you use these words what they imply, what they mean. If this is the umbrella, then all of this falls under it. You see why it's easy to just use simple words, science, methodological naturalism. You will figure it out. I'll wait away. Knowledge is built through observation, informal reasoning, and metaphysical speculation. This is not methodological naturalism. This is natural philosophy. You see that metaphysical speculation there? Me making it up. Well, the arc of reality must be water. If you squeeze the branch hard enough, fluid and liquid will come out. If you even squeeze anything hard, you might see the emergence of fluid. So water is essential to all things. If you squeeze if you squeeze a hard nut, liquid comes out of it in the form of oil. The arc of reality is therefore water. Reasoning, metaphysical speculation, informal observation. The log floats. Heavy objects fall faster. Does this sound like methodological naturalism, anybody? Or philosophical speculation about nature, natural philosophy? So it's blended with metaphysics. Now we are talking about philosophical naturalism. Ancient. Read, understand what's going on here. Ancient naturalists really mixed theological. That's what I'm keep saying. That's why it's natural philosophy. That teleology, purpose-driven explanations, especially in Aristotle, the purpose, the divine, the reason for that rock being so heavy, that downward force that is within the rock. It's downward force in the rock. What? Who made that up? Essentialism. Things have inherent nature. The nature of wood is to burn. Its purpose is to produce heat, to warm the hearts in the homes of the civilized. Proto-materialism, for example, atomism and Democritus, started to talk about the smallest part of what we can exist of. You see, each one is trying to define what the essence is. And each one of them is an authority. So each one of their positions stands firm, and you can be of a school of thought. This is how you do your analysis of nature in one of these schools of thought. Thought indicated by the individual. Competing frameworks. No unified theory. Like they all didn't accept art is water. 1,200 years later, Aristotle referred to it, but at this time, there is no consensus. Thelius thinks everything is water. Heraclitus, everything is flux. Democritus, atoms and void. Aristotle, substance, causes, and purpose. He was the most sophisticated of them all. He came up with a beautiful, most conceptualized substance, cause, the essence of the thing, and its purpose. All are naturalistic in rejecting the Egyptian form or previous forms around the world, which is animism or mythicism or mythological philosophy. But radically different in content. And again, they're making it up. Speculations, metaphysical claims. Which part about that is the same thing? This is philosophical naturalism, ancient. Why is it ancient? Modern philosophical naturalism, post-scientific revolution, especially after the scientific revolution. Thinkers like Baruch Spinoza, David Hume, and in contemporary form, W.V.O. Quinn. These people started to question metaphysical claims. Baruch Spinoza, he questioned the authority of the Bible. See, these are in the scientific revolution. The authority is being challenged here. This is a complete different frame of reference. The two are conceptually different. I didn't make a mistake. I knew exactly what I was talking about. You pull up a slide in isolation and read, oh, might be. No, I know exactly what I was talking about. No error there. Grounded in the scientific methodology. Now we're going into the area of how this becomes a personal worldview. Modern naturalism is inseparable from empiricism, experimentation, mathematical modeling, institutional science. The epistemic rupture comes here. This is where, boom, that fundamental complete break with that thought process. So even in the scientific revolution, you have individuals that are still natural philosophers. Y'all see why I get so frustrated listening to these idiots make these stupid claims? Darwin was a naturalist. Isaac Newton was a natural philosopher. Kevin Bacon was a natural philosopher. Redundant, non sequitur conversation, but yes, that is what they are. You natural philosophers do not get to switch it up. And as we said, yes, you can retroactively put these titles on in conversation, and we understand that. But y'all trying to make a hard point about something that isn't. Methodological naturalism can lead to philosophical naturalism. There are individuals like myself that are philosophical naturalists. It's only nature, that's it. However, you do not apply that in methodological naturalism because it makes no claims for or against the supernatural. The supernatural is excluded from the conversation when we're observing science. So my human worldview, my philosophical position, philosophical naturalism grew out of methodological naturalism. Now, in my day, it can be the opposite way. I was scientifically inclined and I didn't believe in no gods from a kid. So the two worked hand in hand. Modern philosophical naturalism is built on top of methodological naturalism. So you needed this system first. And this system was the foundation for people eventually saying, well, we don't need no God. Within the philosophical discussion. This is within the philosophical realm because there's a church on every corner. People still go to church. So do not create as if philosophical naturalism was the death of religion. No, it wasn't. It gave a particular thought process. Eventually, the word atheist can come in there, but atheist is I'm a philosophical naturalist. That means I do not believe there's any supernatural agents out there. None. Don't even have to have a conversation about atheism or not. Just spookism is spookism. Philosophical naturalism. Modern, not modern, modern, not chef. Modern. Say it with me. Modern. Right? Modern. Modern philosophical naturalism is built on top of methodological naturalism. You see the evolution here. Philosophical naturalists developed a system in which they're practicing methodological naturalism. Methodological naturalism led to a worldview being established. We simply don't have no idea, no reason to. Science restricts itself to natural causes. Philosophy generalized that success into a worldview. You see the steps here. Maybe I needed to do not jump out the window. Stop it. Lesson for me too. See those things, laugh. Because the evidence is there. All I have to do is play the video. I never talk about him being, quote, a philosophical naturalist in its modern context. I never talked about him having no belief in God when they provide the earth with divinity. Their concept of divinity still existed. So at no point in time would I make such a claim. But again, gotcha moment. Anti-supernatural by default. Not just we prefer natural explanations, right? Philosophical naturalists. But there is no need to posit the supernatural. If something has causal power, it must be accessible to investigation. Now, what does science say? Everything is speculative. Everything is open. We can draw no definitive conclusion. We investigate. No, we're not going to make a claim for or against. The moment the supernatural becomes natural, then it's just a natural explanation. We still don't have nothing to do with the supernatural. So science itself, when we talk about the supernatural science, not the scientists, but science, if you would ask science, supernatural science will go, don't compute, don't compute, don't compute. Simply isn't a factor. But the power of the individual, my own reasoning, that is a worldview in its modern sense versus a system in the old sense. Epistemic humility plus constraints. Unlike ancient systems, claims must be tested or at least scientifically coherent. So you don't have the freedom to just say, well, if you squeeze a nut, some oil comes out, water's everywhere. You prick a person, even when they have a sore, fluid comes out. So fluid is water is the arc of life, arc of reality. How you gonna test that? Speculation is constrained by evidence. So your hypotheses must be based on evidence. There must be something there. There must be a there. Otherwise, what are you speculating about? Hume, like, bro, your metaphysical claims about supernatural, you have no evidence for them claims. I ain't listening to you. Get out of here. Get out of here. When was Hume? In the middle of the scientific revolution. Is he talked about as if he is a scientist? No, he's just a philosopher, right? Creating what we call epistemology. Epistemology forms part of the scientific process. You see how these things are intertwined, but they're separate from themselves. And when we're having a conversation over here about these two systems, we did not need to go through all of that. Because again, I'll take you into deep water and drown you. Baby steps. It leads to physicalism, and I like to use the word materialism, although it creates some confusion in the modern sense because you then assume to be materialistic, as in wanting shoes and that kind of stuff. Within the philosophical realm, has nothing to do with that. Many modern naturalists hold that reality is fundamentally physical. Mind, consciousness, etc., are products of physical processes. Many modern naturalists. You do not have to be a philosophical naturalist to be a scientist. But if you're a philosophical naturalist, right, reality is fundamentally physical. Mind, consciousness, etc., all products of physical processes. You've heard me say it. Atoms, quarks, subatomic particles, space time is material. It can bend and fold. I know you physically can't grab it, but it is within the realm of materialism. It's grounded in nature, natural phenomena within space-time. Space-time itself is malleable. It can bend, it can fold. Well, fold, no, you can bend. Fold would be collapsing on itself. That's a whole other dynamic. So no, it can bend. So if it can bend, it's part of the material world. Can't touch it, can't hold it, Can't see it, it's just there. We observe it because of how light bends and refracts. Ancient naturalism is ontological preference. So ancient naturalism is an ontological preference. The world is best explained by nature rather than myth, right? Ontology, the description of modern naturalism is epistemological, is an epistemological commitment. We only accept explanations that are testable, empirical, and methodologically constrained. What is that methodological constraint? No, only natural causes, natural explanation. Nature is the author. Nature is the authority. Humans just interpret what the authority dictates, says, or explains, or exposes. That's a massive shift. The authoritative nature frameworks completely different. So, no. Why is this confusion happening? Because they are engaging fundamentally in anachronism. Modern writers retroactively label ancient thinkers as naturalists, then quietly import modern scientific rigor into ancient thought. Result: ancient speculations gets upgraded to early science, which it wasn't. This is the exact move used. Pseudoscientific. What do y'all do? They already knew this. The ancient had all this knowledge and wisdom. Pseudoscientific. Theological apologetics. Ancients were doing science too. That sounds like truist. See, I can see through the veils. I know what your ultimate agenda is. But I would leave it expose itself. You see, when y'all speak to me, y'all sound like this. Santa Claus is bringing the gifts for me, and he's coming with the reindeer, and Mama has to leave some cookies for him. That, when you speak, I hear how much you don't know. And what y'all do in the barbershop, boys? Bad history of science, historical revisionism. Chef tried to collapse 600 years as if the modern guys were even considering the authoritative nature of the ancients. They were reading that stuff to destroy it, dismantle it, because they realized it was a bunch of nonsense. That's what happened. Building on that nonsense, they built a completely new structure, new system. The ancients ain't had it. They didn't know. Their system was flawed to the point it couldn't be used. Get out of here. Stop it. You want to Arabize science. Get out of here. Stop it. That's your belief system. I don't have none. I don't care. But those so-called astronomers, man, they were doing astrology. They measure the night sky to know when to pray. That's not astronomy. That's spookism. Get out of here. Over whooping. Now let's look at the features. Ancient naturalism versus modern naturalism. The basis, philosophical. Philosophy. That's it, done. Modern is science plus philosophy. Modern naturalism creates science, that empirical process, and it led to philosophical naturalism in its modern sense, where you get, quote unquote, individuals that says no supernatural, none, don't exist, none, me. No, I don't want to hear it. I'm not interested. Hard atheism. But philosophically, my position is there's no outside of reality. Nothing there. No, you can't posit no claim. And if you can't posit no claim, there's no need to speculate. Just know. Waste of my time. But that's my individual stance. Part of pseudo killers, we got varying philosophical positions, but they have no they play no role in our communication of science. Because methodological naturalism doesn't require your belief to be interjected. Now, you have to have the mental maturity to be able to do the two, to believe in God in our Western sense and know that the story of Adam and Eve is nonsense, that the creation story is nonsense. So now you can appreciate it for its romantic content, for the historical effort that these people were doing, but you have accepted that this is not real. Okay, you still believe in God, but you can practice science over here without confusing the two. The method, speculative reasoning, and over here is empirical and experimental. You see the difference? I didn't make a mistake. On the slide said it ancient. Structure. Individual thinkers. I was talking about Thales of Miletus. I was demonstrating that there's no methodological naturalism practice at that time when Brass and Chev were, ooh, silence. Such a, oh boy, got him, got him. Monkeys. Catarini with scissors. Brass, just brass, cheap metal. Oh boy, man. Wow, I can't believe, he's over there. And when you pretend to be better than everybody and get caught out like that, it's embarrassing. No, you know what's embarrassing? That you sound as dumb, ignorant, and as cheap metal as you are. Energizer bunny. Barbershop clowns. Y'all can make 100 videos because after today I'm done. Y'all are done. Insignificant, irrelevant. Science is undefeated. Pseudo killers 100 and oh. Y'all know once we get done with y'all are over for real. Look at the record. People disappear. Supernaturalism rejected loosely. Modern naturalism methodologically excluded. Constraints minimal. Strict epistemic constraints. Goal, explain nature. Explain nature reliably. One, making it up to explain it. The other, testing, verify, and let nature tell us what it is. One, we go in without knowledge and acquire it. One, we go in with an assumption we already know and we seek to confirm it. Fundamentally different process mentally. Can you slow boys in the back get it? Shut up, get off the topic, stop it, be quiet. Just noise, irritating. Ancient naturalism replaced myth with speculation. Modern naturalism replaced speculation with method. I take my time, prepare these things, and I might make a mistake here and there. Made them before. With this subject, I'm pretty sure I'm on the ball. I run my presentations after the shows. I try to evaluate how my show was. Where Sosa gave that idea, if you use certain words wrong, right? Check, evaluate yourself. I do it after each show. I go to bed tonight and stay up to about 3 o'clock, evaluating, checking what I said, where I was, what I could say, but because I want to produce the best information possible. So no, those silly kind of mistakes I ain't gonna find. At this point, because of what I'm doing, the responsibility I have, I'm putting the extra mile. So no, nothing was wrong there. If you had listened while I was explaining, instead of trying to do a gotcha moment, you would have gotten it. But again, you illustrate your ignorance on the subject. That word ancient in brackets should have said something to you. Should have said something. I said before you get here, study the history of science and study the philosophy of science. I know when y'all opened Stanford and you saw the amount of reading y'all had to do, y'all started doing the F12, right? Find trigger words, right? And highlight the pieces, right? Yeah. Those little tricks. As if you're gonna do a gotcha mode, try to learn on the fly. Good try. 4 years ago, after Dome, I talked about methodological naturalism. Y'all think 4 years ago it wasn't already here? Now I've just gotten better at delivering presentations, preparing myself to transfer the information. This is a pedagogy here. I ain't debating with nobody. I ain't arguing with nobody. Y'all annoy me. Now, decoding the language of the debate. Preem, I'm sorry. I know you wanted, I heard tonight that you wanted to do this as a presentation. It's already in here. Epistemology, the branch of philosophy that studies knowledge, how we know things, what counts as evidence, and what justifies belief. Every argument in this series depends on epistemology. If someone's epistemology is flawed, their conclusions will be too. If epistemology asks, how do we know that? How? Epistemic and epistemic framework. Epistemic simply means relating to knowledge. An epistemic framework is a system of rules a person uses to determine truth. Why this matter? Debates often fail because people are operating from different epistemic frameworks without realizing it. An epistemic framework is your truth filter. I keep telling y'all, we are having this conversation on different levels. I am talking about the system. Why I talk about the system? Because science is a way of thinking. It is a philosophy. It is part of natural philosophy. So the conversation is always going to be about frameworks, not because you saw a wheel in the BCE time mean that they were had primitive cars. Like the frameworks, y'all looking at the tools. I told y'all looking at the things in the toolbox of methodological naturalism. You are going to find them throughout history. Humans have always been empirical by nature. So you're going to find these things. But that doesn't mean that they come directly from there, because this is first human nature. These are the things we've been doing. It is simply a framework, a system developed that said, okay, we're going to use this. We're going to use that. We're going to use this. We're going to use that. Over time, oh no, we need another. Okay. Developed, not evolved. A system is developed. I'm a stickler for words, because y'all like to make shit up. The epistemic rupture, a radical break in how knowledge is produced and justified. The shift associated with figures like Isaac Newton marks a move away from speculative reasoning towards mathematized, testable, empirical models. This explains why modern science is not just better ancient philosophy, a linear progression. It is a fundamentally different system. So the annoyance I feel when y'all put modern as if y'all are going to create a linear progression, it shows you're not ready for the conversation. So I shut it down the moment modern comes out your mouth. Yeah, there's no dialogue. But I wasn't intending on having a dialogue with people who don't understand this. They need to sit in the class and be taught. Then I understand. I understand. Not me though. I can't do it. I won't use a famous quote, but I can't. No, you need to be taught. You need to be taught. We're not equals here. You ain't sitting debating me, bro, from your barbershop chair. You hardly read. Sucking on cigars, the other cheap metal sucking on cigars, pretending to have all this money. Oh, I got a lot of time to be in the Discord. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You didn't tell everybody Trump, by the way. Weren't you the one, the political science guy, Trump? Anyway, an epistemic rupture doesn't improve the system, it replaces it. That's why I use specific words. Let's continue. Philosophical framework. the underlying assumptions and principles that guide how we interpret reality. Two people can look at the same data and reach different conclusions because they are using different frameworks. Framework doesn't just shape answers, they shape the question. It is how you approach things. The dude that went, oh, the log floats, we can build a boat. Cool. The dude that says, wait a minute, why does the log float though? I can throw this pebble, look, in the water, it stinks. And it takes 20 of us to lift this log and it floats. How is that possible? That's a fundamentally different question. And then the first dude is going to say, well, it is the purpose, it is the essence of what to float, provide us with a boat. And since the arc of water is in all things, the resistance keeps it above water. Okay, that solution was a good explanation for over 2,000 years, bro. And then somebody said, wait a minute. Displacement, boom, bam, bam. No, oh, we can build boats from higher now. Because it ain't the log just floating, it's water displacement. Oh, buoyancy. Oh, whole different discussion emerges. Paradigm shift, a large-scale transformation in how a field understands reality. So when I said this word the first time, Reggie again. No, it needs to be written down. And then, what kind of nonsense you talking? I ain't trying to argue with Reggie. And I'm like, okay, Reggie, no, a paradigm shift. No, it's just a fundamental shift in how we see a particular thing. We view it completely different because of a new understanding, different way of engaging. The combustion engine was a paradigm shift from horse and buggy. It fundamentally changed the way we travel. That's a paradigm shift. The nomenclature, the tools required, the skills required completely changed. You had a biological relationship with an animal, and now you're putting gas in an engine and you're changing oil filters. What? That's a paradigm shift in transportation. And we have several of them. Aircraft, that's another paradigm shift. The speed with which we move, the speed with which we could traverse continents and larger distances, that's a paradigm shift. The things you can do now are fundamentally different. Your whole world changes, your whole world view changes. This concept is strongly associated with what Thomas Kuhn. Y'all need to read. He's gonna sources. I said I'm using two sources: philosophy of science and the history of science. I ain't sticking them up here every minute. I ain't down here with this nonsense with y'all. It clarifies that science evolves to disruptive change, not just gradual accumulation. Now, he's a good one-liner. A paradigm shift is when the rules of the game change, not just the score, Reggie. I don't know why you engage in this conversation. You know how stupid you look now. All these silly things you try to argue with people about. African science, African science. I get up there to have a conversation and you act like a jackass. See, pseudoscience is source. It says science. It says African science right in the article. Reggie, that's the moment I realized you weren't a mature and you weren't an intellectual. You were not mature and you definitely weren't an intellectual. You a court gesture. Blackology. Natural philosophy. The historical attempt to understand nature using reason, observation, and often metaphysical speculation. It includes both empirical observation and philosophical assumptions about how the world works. Methodological naturalism, on the other hand, the operating system of modern science. Science is inherently Modern. It limits explanation to natural testable causes. Key point. If it is not a belief about reality, it is a method. Here, what Aristotle believed. What is the method that we are going to use to determine what actually is? Philosophical naturalism, a worldview claiming that reality is entirely natural, no supernatural entities. Critical distinction, methodological naturalism, how we investigate. Philosophical naturalism, modern, what we believe exists. One is a method, the other is a metaphysical conclusion. The prefix fallacy. Oh boy. Assuming adding a prefix proto, pseudo, meta, etc. preserves legitimacy. Example, proto-science being treated as equivalent to science. This creates a false continuity where there is actual rupture. Well, oh boy. Now, got a little jam there, but I guess we pretty much understand what's going on. I'm going to finish that up another time. So now we see what's going on here, right? Bunch of flim flam nonsense. I dropped the link in the back chat, Discord. I'm going to drop the link here. If anybody wants to jump on, tomfoolery. I'm done with this subject. I'm not talking to y'all. I'm not talking about y'all. Y'all are insignificant and irrelevant. Now give me a
Yeah. Welcome to Ced Talks, where we separate fact from fiction. Mess it up a minute every time. This that Ced Talk, yeah, we set it straight. Cut through the noise, elevate the debate. No pseudo talk, no foggy claims. Just evidence-based when we build these frames. Ced Talks, yeah, clarity first. If it ain't got method, it probably won't work. From ancient knowledge to modern science, we draw that line, that clear defined. They say the ancients had science. Hold up. Pause. Knowledge ain't the same as methodological laws. Observation, yeah, but control tests rare. No predictive models, you gotta be fair. We respect the past, but we keep it exact. Precision matters when you deal with facts. Astronomy grew, astrology split. One stayed empirical, one lean myth. The shift came through naturalistic method. Test and revise, that's how we embed it. Not culture bound, not tied to a place. It's a universal tool for the human.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the end of the series. We're not doing the prefix fallacies. We're not doing all the nonsense. It's over. The debate is over. The battle has been fought. Pseudo killers stay undefeated. Pseudo killers stay undefeated, and that's the end of it for me. Anybody wants to jump up here and get it in? Let me know, because I've been waiting to do this one. Get it over and done with. JJ, JJ, you see how you do a presentation, JJ? Huh? Oh man, yeah. Bananas, completely bananas. This whole escapade, this whole charade was pure nonsense. It was good fun though. Got to beat up on the barbershop boys to prove their ignorance. At this point, the conversation is completely over. Jump up here, let's have some fun until I need to check out so we can do the third show for the night. Pseudo Killers rolling on y'all. Rolling. Until someone gets up here.
Brother, and don't take this the wrong way, but I mean that not one source, not one cross-reference source. You just up here reading, readology. And y'all told me yesterday I had sources. Then with just clips, put the sources up here right now. I'm ready. Not one source, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I need to put the heparin. Put the sources up right now. You just ran your mouth. Nope,
JJ,
Cedric. Nope. I need
my two
sources, sir.
sources, JJ,
Let me
my
see the
two
source.
sources.
I just came in. I looked. I winded it. I didn't see one source to make your point. You was all over the place.
JJ, I don't do like you,
Where's the
JJ.
sources?
JJ,
Well, I'm finna destroy you on another channel. Yep, you don't have any sources. Hey, where's the heckler jekyll? Nope. I'm finna go. I'm finna destroy this. You have that one source. This is unacceptable. I'm out.
JJ will forever make a clown of himself. There are two sources you use for this: philosophy of science and the history of science, either via Wiki or the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. You don't need a million sources. You want to make a particular point, you can pull a source, make a particular point. The other day, I pulled an article just to illustrate that the Islamic Golden Age was still firmly rooted in Babylonian type astrological predictions and executions, right? So the sources are there. Y'all need to read the sources like children. I just synthesize this information. Go fact check me. See where you're going to prove me wrong. That's your job. Sources, so you could get up here and read and don't have to synthesize information, don't reach the conclusion. JJ, we are operating on two different spectrum, buddy. Two different spectrum. Savior, what it do, American Dream?
What up, Ced? What up? So I I thought you might have read what I presented in the back chat to him. The difference between ancient and modern science is defined by a rigorous, standardized scientific method, experimentation, empirical evidence, and reproducibility, focused on mechanistic, quantitative, and peer-reviewed results. Ancient science, often called natural philosophy. JJ, listen, this is key. And everyone else who argues about ancient science, this is key. Ancient science, often called natural philosophy, was qualitative, heavily rooted in philosophical, ethical, and metaphysical frameworks, relying on reasoning and observation rather than standardized experimentation.
That's exactly what it
Difference
says.
between science and ancient science.
That's exactly what I
Natural
said.
philosophy.
Being honest, bro. They're refusing to understand. And if they refuse
And,
to
and
understand it,
and that comes
what
from
do they like to
Gemini
do?
because they like AI so much. Said so because they like using AI and Chat GPT. I went ahead and used Gemini on them this morning to try to help
So
them out.
again, I said from the beginning, right? And even in the back chat, I put two sources: the philosophy of science and the history of science. That's the only two sources you need to do this conversation. It will take you down each rabbit hole you need. JJ thinks I'm gonna come up here and start to quote sources and do this kind of nonsense, bro. Take the whole presentation. You know what you do? Download the presentation, run it in your bot, and ask it to assess the accuracy. Go ahead, see what it says. JJ, we operate on two different epistemic levels. Again, you see that there? The way we acquire knowledge. You up there doing a bunch of readership and you can't synthesize what you're reading. You see the word science the day before JJ comes on the platform and says, well, they didn't have methodological naturalism. He reads some stuff and he sees science and he goes off the rails again. But JJ, again, different levels of intellect. You see, I even allow you to come up here and say the nonsense you say because you're not a threat to anyone, bro. You have no clue what you're talking about, fundamentally. And yeah, that's the whole presentation. I structurally broke these things down. So if any conversation is happening about this, they can go have it. But we understand clearly what it is, right? Science is inherently modern. People always had knowledge, a high level of empiricism, develop tools and instruments to survive. Philosophical grounding comes around the Egyptians when they're starting to describe reality based on the forces, the heavenly bodies, etc. Right, the divine agency, etc. The Greeks say, you know what? No more Jews, thunderbolts. The divine nature is in nature itself. Nature has purpose. Nature has intent. and they had their philosophical diatribe about the subject. Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. However, it wasn't science. Now they doing the semantic boom bam 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 bam, right? And they're making themselves look absolutely ridiculous. I fixed the last couple of slides. I really need to finish these. This it's going to work on my psyche if I don't finish it. So, Savior, bear with me a second. Just a couple more, just two more slides, and I'll be done. But I think it's necessary that I finish it for my for my own peace of mind. Oh no. Yeah, yeah. Here we go. So let me finish what I was saying. So the core fallacies in this debate: category error, placing something into the wrong conceptual category. For example, treating science, a method, as if it were a belief system. It's like asking, what color is the number 7? Historical anachronism. Reggie, messy. They had messy observations. That is still projecting modern concepts back into the past where they don't belong. Example, calling ancient Egyptian practices science in the modern sense. They were doing science. No, they weren't. They weren't doing science. Science is a specific format, a specific frame of mind, and you want to get something specific out of nature. This is one of the central errors I've been dismantling. It's reading history with modern glasses, and they accuse us of presentism when Reggie is doing it all the while. The semantic trap. Winning an argument by redefining words rather than addressing substance. Redefining science so broadly that it includes any form of knowledge making. One, we were accused of being too strict while the others of being too broad. There's only one way, too broad. There's not too strict because science is inherently modern. That's it. Prefix fallacy, assuming that by adding a prefix, proto, pseudo, meta, etc., preserves legitimacy. Proto-science being treated as equivalent to science. This creates false continuity where there is actually rupture, that epistemic rupture, completely different system. Y'all need to stop. What we've been seeing throughout the series is not just a disagreement about facts. It's a disagreement about framework, methods, and meaning. When terms are blurred, categories confused, and history rewritten through modern language, the result is not clarity, it's illusion. Science did not emerge as an extension of myth. It emerged as a rupture from it. And understanding that difference is key to understanding everything we've discussed. Now I'm done. That felt good. My neurodivergence would have let me sleep tonight if I didn't finish that. Oh boy. I'm gonna drop the link in the chat. I guess after that debacle on the other side, I'm pretty much tired now. I can imagine after having go through that nonsense with what's his name?
Blunder with
With
blunder.
Thunder. Man, I had to jump off. I already felt I was losing my cool. I said, I know I got a show to do. Let me just get off and prepare myself instead of frustrating myself with that dude. Here comes DJ again.
Man, listen, I'm gonna be serious with you, Cedric. You trying, you're getting a little better.
JJ,
But listen, no, don't interrupt. Just stop the interruption, bro. Grow up. This is a panel for have respect. You can't just interrupt me when I'm talking. So I'm asking you this, all seriousness. Can you give me the source you use so I can go look it up?
Yeah, I'm gonna send them to you.
No. Right now, we're not sending nothing.
JJ,
Cedric, stop calling my name, bro. That shit's irritating. It's like you stole the kid or something.
You're annoying.
You're annoying. The fucking frog throat. Man, now you ain't got no sources.
Crash out.
You're crashing out. Where's the sources?
Crash out. What you get back?
I'm gonna hold you to the same standards that you hold me. You embarrassed yourself today with no sources.
JJ,
I
That's
said
just
he
it
did mention the
twice.
sources.
Cedric. No, where the sources? What
He
is it? What
did.
is it?
He just got through
JJ, my
mentioning like
two
two
sources
sources.
What is it?
are
What's the name of?
JJ, my two sources are the
Well, let me
philosophy
type
of
it in.
science, and the history of science. Those are the only two sources I've been using. I'm not going
Mm-hmm.
to say it again. Go look it up, dummy. Are you drunk?
And that proves what?
You drunk?
What do that prove?
No, go
No,
read
no.
it.
What
Go
did that
read.
prove,
Don't ask
Iron
me another
Monkey?
question.
I'm
Bye,
finna
JJ.
destroy you. I'm
Bye,
finna show how much
JJ.
of a
Bye,
lack of
No, we
JJ.
didn't.
scholarship you got.
Bye,
Hold on,
JJ.
You
JJ. In
got
all
that.
fairness, let me say this. In all
You hold
fairness,
them to the same goddamn standards you hold me.
JJ,
Baby.
hold
I'm finna
on,
get them. Nope.
hold on. Let me ask this question. This is just fair. What point of the evidence or what point of the data are you going to attack that he just presented, or are you
None.
just going to fuss about the source and make up a straw man?
None. Yeah, strong man. That's all you're going to do anyway.
What he what he's trying to do is find a way
Come on,
to
we getting
make
too old for this, bro.
People, all right.
We've been
Tired.
doing this shit all
yeah,
day, bro. All
because
day today.
what he looking for is
We're
a way
getting
to
too
debate
old, man.
Paul.
Come on, man. At what point are you going to attack the evidence or what he's actually presenting, or are you just going to sit there and ask for sources and
Yeah,
attack straw mans?
yeah, that's all you're going to do.
It's,
That straw man
it's just
act for
it's just
sources. I
looking for
tell
a way
you,
to debate.
this whole series was built off of the philosophy of science and the history of science. Those are the only two sources I use. Why? Because I've been talking about systems. I've
Right.
been gotten into the weeds of what one person did and read a documentary or read a biography. I don't need to do that. Now, when I'm going to do my presentation on the Islamic golden age and talk about that heliocentric model and how that actually works, that whole evolution of the heliocentric model, you're going to see again natural philosophy, no problem. And the moment they engage in methodological naturalism, they wanted Galileo's head. Why not
Yep.
Copernicus?
Yep.
Why not Copernicus' head? Why the head of Galileo? Because he
Because
challenged
he
his
challenged
authority.
authority.
He challenged the symmetrical order of the universe as God dictated. He couldn't
Mhm.
do that. That was like eliminating their order. So now, when we're talking about individuals like that, I'll go into a little bit more. You put some more sources, right? You have some quotes and stuff. But for explaining this, I'm not going to stick up my source, my slides full of source, this, source, that. Man, this is information I can regurgitate. I prepare the slides so we have something interesting to look at because I'm not that attractive. Otherwise, and I don't need these slides. I don't need them. I don't need any one of them. So because I wouldn't need one of the slides, every time I open my mouth, I will have to source that to prove JJ. That means you never synthesize the information. That means you are out of your depth. Every time you need a source from me, that means you don't know this material. That's all that is. Because anytime you open your mouth, I can tell you, no, that's wrong. No, that's incorrect. No, I don't need to read your sources. I'll listen to you and know where you're wrong. How hard is that? How hard is that? Hmm?
No, it's just funny, bro. It's funny to me because these guys have gotten so used to asking, well, where's the source? Where's the source? That they don't pay attention. Had he been paying attention to the past few shows, you haven't even ventured out of the text that you've already been covering.
No, he can't.
So
Simply he can't because
he's
the
he,
information is synthesized and JJ can only read. JJ doesn't synthesize information. He is trying to find somewhere that I said something. What did I say that you want to hold on to, JJ? When you find it,
exactly.
let me know. He can't. So now the strong man. Oh, where's sources? JJ, I am not in grade school like you, bro. I'm doing a presentation. It is up there, evaluated. You saw how Truist pulled a slide that he thought was incorrect and made his point. That's what it's there for. He was wrong, but you can do that any and every day. Sadiq, what you saying?
What's going on, brother? What's going on, brother Hiru?
What's up, Sadiq?
What's good?
Man, what's going on? Great presentation, brother said, man. I was just taking it all in, man, from the audience, brother. Pleasure
I
talking
appreciate
to you, man.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
For
That's the
sure.
whole idea. We just want to put things in its proper perspective, bro. If anyone thinks that we do not appreciate ancient cultures, I have a more appreciation for hunter-gatherers, bro. Like
Okay.
the ability to
Agreed.
survive in your natural environment
Right.
that successfully without any of the modern comforts that we have. Put yourself in their shoes, but we wouldn't be able to do it.
Right.
Right? We wouldn't know which plant from how to hunt, where to
Right.
hunt, nighttime, no night, which areas to go in. Like they have completely synthesized their existence with their natural environment successfully. That means they are able to pass on information empirically, right? From generation to generation.
Right.
They do not need modern science, right? The plant works. Now, we want to know active in components, etc. But
Right.
within those traditional cultures, in that space and time, that was not a necessity. So
Yeah.
to even look and ask whether they had that or suggest it is barbaric,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I would add that I would say the perspective versus the modern and the ancient are almost as different as night and day. I've seen some aspects of your presentation would suggest that, and I would agree. Meaning that the ancients often took an intrinsic approach to science,
There you go.
if you will, through using entheogenic plants in part and other ancient methodologies that would
Hmm.
be deemed as hocus pocus
Hmm.
by to modern standards, right? If we're going to
Exactly.
standardize their methodology as they became more aware in the overall intrinsic operation of something being studied, where in comparison to this modern science paradigm, we often look at destroying the specimen, cutting it into pieces and literally
Mechanism.
analyzing it in the piecemeal
Yeah.
approach,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And more or less, right? And so
Modern
that's
science views of the world as a machine to dissect,
right,
whereas
exactly.
ancient culture saw it
Is
a fluid a
right,
totality, right? So that's a
indeed.
fundamental difference.
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, you're looking at, you're destroying at the end of the day the in the modern perspective, the specimen is utterly destroyed and typically often studied primarily dead.
Yeah,
Meaning, for instance, just to give you an idea, when I mention the word destroy, I mean, we have Vishnu the Destroyer statue out there, I think it's 30 foot outside of the CERN lab over in
yeah,
Switzerland.
yeah. We
And so that's not
discovered
there by happenstance. That's a
no,
symbolic mentality. Well, I don't want to go, just go ahead, bro. I'll just stop there for now, brother.
but you're absolutely right. Modern science sees a reality, sees nature as a machine to dissect,
Yes,
right? To analyze per components. So you have the natural sciences. Yeah, yeah, it's dead. We're gonna cut it open. We're gonna see how it functions. We're going to experiment. We're gonna give us animals certain chemical compounds, and then we are going to kill them and assess the brain tissue and the liver and the kidney
right,
tissue, because we see science, modern science, right? And I say we, I mean in the modern world, right? Um,
right,
the world, nature is something to break down and analyze. Like the Chinese had their qi, total harmony, right?
right,
Their
right,
feng shui systems and all of this was a totally different conceptualization. That's why there are cultures that had treaties against operations like dissecting humans and doing examination on corpses and stuff like that, right? And these systems, right, holistic as they impeded the process of understanding biology, right? So it is one, you have a holistic system that works, but the mechanistic operations of nature is then less accessible.
yes,
And methodological naturalism is fundamental shift, right? That's why I talk about an epistemic rupture in how we engage in reality. And the cool thing is that it's a group of natural philosophers, right, who realized that their methodology wasn't working. You had to realize that your methodology wasn't working to develop a different system, to go from that authoritative uh, introspective point of view to allowing nature to be the authority, right? It's no longer Aristotle says, but it's nature dictates. So these are fundamental changes in the process where you do not that whereby you cannot talk about a linear progression. A linear progression of natural philosophy would lead to more speculations and greater halts, and who has the best gish for gallop, the best swag and convincing tongue would be the science of today. Then, right? You would have individuals in this community, like Phil Valentine. He would have had established sciences all over the place, and you would continuously have different schools of thought because it is well which philosophical school you fall under is how you engage with reality, how your medicine is applied. Everything is based on that philosophical container that you belong to in that sense, right? So,
Yeah. And things like that. I would say also, as we become more taking this mechanistic, I would say soulless approach to understanding our reality as it pertains to physicality, we're losing our soul. I would say even as Black people, as we follow the conventional scientific methodology of study in terms of science, as it were, as we head towards the AI paradigm, we're becoming too intelligent, in my opinion, for our own good. I mean, I've talked to many individuals already. They're becoming confused as to terms of what is the difference between a living organic individual versus an AI artificial intelligence based guy.
mm,
Some of the lines of a cyborg. They're having issues discerning the two.
yeah,
And
yeah,
see, and Bill
that
Gates
is
has already predicted. Just one more sentence, brother, if you don't mind. Bill Gates has already predicted publicly that we're looking at about 5 to 10 years out, and as we head into a unfamiliar dark age. I agree with him. I'll just stop there.
yeah. Well, uh, technology is going to lead us into less and less free imposition of will.
Right.
What you're seeing is that you are going to be less restricted, right? AI is going to uh, do a lot of the things that we are doing now, and just like when the industrial revolution took place, what were you going to do with all of this human capital that you had, right?
Right. Right.
So
Would that make us less restrictive? You said we would be.
yeah,
We're going to have increased freedom under. Let's say, given the patterns we're seeing, we will become
yeah,
more liberated.
your whole. I'm not necessarily integrated with the system, right? With these
Okay.
machines, it is
Right.
that these machines are going to change our whole economic structure, our whole employment pay taxes system.
Right. Right. Right.
That eventually is going to disappear.
Yeah.
What that is going to do? It is going to the system has to dramatically change. Our whole economic structure is going to change, right?
Yeah. It's
Um,
changing now. Yeah. It's changing
yeah,
now. Actually. Yeah.
90% of your labor market gone. What are you going to do with humanity? So now your whole socialized structures need to come in place, right? You're going to,
Yeah.
it's this, yeah, this
But
currency
right.
thing
Right.
is going to have to change. The whole concept of having to earn money is going to
Right.
just,
Right. Yeah. Um. Real quick. There's so much to say about this stuff, right? But I'll try to keep it brief as possible. The What we're seeing as we move away from the human resource towards an AI machine-based resource is several things. Namely, we're seeing a dissolution of the Department of Education. We're seeing a reduction in income tax. Trump has said we're going to try to eliminate that, get it down to zero or close to zero, right? And a few other things in terms of dissolving labor unions and all this other stuff. It makes sense why we would dissolve the U.S. Department of Education because and we also begun to demote and deprofessionalize established professions like nursing, physician's assistant. They're all being downgraded. He downgraded about 10 of them, I think, about a few months ago. And he's downgrading what it takes and the resources spent to train and teach humans. This is why they're dissolving the Department of Education, because a machine, if we're heading towards a new paradigm, and particularly where labor is concerned, and throughout the whole society by and large, if the Matrix and the Terminator movie holds true, according to the author, given the patterns we're seeing, then we're going to the machine learn. In other words, just by simply downloading. We don't need a physical building of elementary school. We don't
you
need
see,
construction workers. We don't need a principal. We don't need school security. We don't need textbooks. We don't need to learn how to write. That's why they got rid of cursive. They're gonna get rid of printing in a minute because we're going to just simply type in through a computer to write, and the machines don't need cursive to talk to each other. At the end of the day, even when we talk to each other now here, we type in. We're not even writing technically.
no,
So there's just no need to really learn how to write. And from the system's perspective, I'm just saying I don't agree with it, but from their perspective, this is where they're going with this. And so we've seen the examples. We've seen reasons, and we heard the arguments at the think tanks why they're dissolving labor unions. A
Yeah.
machine is not going to join a union. It makes sense, right? We've seen them. We've seen the IRS being slashed
And
40, 30,
especially
30% workforce during tax season because machines don't what? They don't earn paychecks, so they don't what? Pay income
exactly
taxes,
income taxes.
right? And so what he's doing is, so as he off Trump has offset it and to the popular hurrah to everybody who's fooled. But I mean, a lot of people are going to believe this and support this. Is how they're going to get this stuff off. At any rate, now are they going to lose the money from the income tax? Sure, they're going to lose the money. You know how much money is paid into the yearly into the U.S. system, financial system from income tax, and just in the U.S. alone, it's a lot. And so what they're going to do is they're going to begin. So since the machine is going to replace us, what they're going to do ultimately, just mark my words, and we'll follow it out about 5 years or so, give or take a few years. They're going to start charging the corporations that's putting the machine on the product line. You're going to
Hmm.
see that next. You're going to see that now. They started talking about it, working it out now, right?
Yeah.
And so what you said earlier, and I'll just wrap it up with two sentences here, wrap it up a little bit here, is when you said something that, what are you going to do with the useless eaters? That's what the human is without a job and a career. They're not earning any money, so you live in the shipping boxes. They give you the minimalist lifestyle because of that. Because American fortunes would tank. They've
Yeah.
been said, and many financial experts already said they expect the average American and Black Americans in particular to have a net worth of zero by 2050 or so.
Yeah.
See? And so what they're going to do is you're going to look at probably an issue with being eliminated. This is where Bill Gates come in at saying, well, we heard it for years. In the future, it's going to be too many people walking around here. Well, yeah, these mothers ain't working. They don't have jobs. They don't have careers. They got families, but they don't. They don't. They're going to school for careers that they're in school right now for careers that won't exist tomorrow.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
so
but
they need to be
you know,
eliminated. This is why they're reducing the planet's population. I'll just stop right there.
you
Well,
know what, brother. This is something that I know that Ced is covered in his Ced Talks, and something I know I've covered probably continuous over the past 2 years. Is that the way that you become immune to what you're just describing is actual scientific literacy, financial literacy, and political literacy. The only people that's going to be affected is the ones that's willfully ignorant. At
Right.
this point, this thing is blown wide open. We there's no more. We don't. We're not going to never. We're never going to have a time of Dr. Phil Valentine's again, where people can come on here and just bamboozle us because we have all this accessible information. You see what I'm saying? So when you think about artificial intelligence, you mentioned the AI.
Right.
These are tools. These are tools that we can utilize, and if you understand them, then it's not going to be a driving factor in your life. It's not going to replace your livelihood or your job because you know exactly what you're dealing with. You know how to operate these systems and things like that through scientific literacy, like again, your financial literacy and political literacy. These are things once you know something, what could take it away from you?
Nobody, nobody can take it away. While I would assert that the AI offers some utility in this regard, given that technically it's a slave to the human intellect. It's a tool at the end of the, my opinion, at the beginning as well as the end of the day. But given the trends we're seeing, it's going to go far beyond a tool. We'll begin to. It's like the inventor of the wrench. We begin to worship the wrench, and the wrench outsmarts the inventor. And we see that's some of the things I could get into, but as long as I would say we keep it at a certain, and there's a lot of talk about that right now, like where are we going here? There's a lot of fear-based scenarios and things that's legitimately need to be discussed. Given that what this thing can do, and as it evolves over time, I think if we keep it, I think we learn and we can help it, we learn from it and how to use it properly. We can definitely make a lot of money. Right now, there's a huge influx of wealth. That's one. Some have already said. Some of the pundits have said. The financial pundits have already said that we're seeing the largest wealth transfer ever in U.S. history. Probably because of this AI. There's a huge shift going on. And so Trump and company are definitely pushing it. And he's even made certain policies and got things in place to go after whoever would try to police it, actually. Why would he? They're they don't want. I'll just stop there. But there's more areas to get into. But yeah, definitely, man, we can definitely use it. And but I think personally, this thing will become more human-like, and we'll become more machine-like. We're gonna switch places with this thing. And I'll just leave it at that.
um, That part I want to like downloading the information. I think that's a little bit of Hollywood. However, the amount of information you can access, um, the way the language models work, if you use them accurately, you can increase your knowledge exponentially.
Right.
However, it is a systematic and a structured way of engaging with these tools. Far too often, even on these platforms, you hear AI doing the thinking for individuals. It's not a tool,
Right.
it's an actual
Right.
brain. What
Right.
what what, what does ChatGPT say? Look, it says it right there.
We here, right?
That's the weirdest thing. Like I simply say, you know what, this is a tool. It can verify exactly what I'm saying, what I was saying, or it can make the sentence more logically coherent or condense the information. But it is not thinking for me. This is stuff that I already know.
Right.
You need to do the
Mm-hmm.
work. God
Mm-hmm.
killer in the building.
What's up,
Facts.
family? I see Sadiq up here having fun, boy. He had a little fun there.
Hey, what's going? Hey, what's going on, Jay?
What's up, Mark?
What's going on, brother, man? Oh man, I heard you up there,
Hell
man, doing
no.
boxing earlier. I had to jump in. I said, I gotta go. Shout out to my brother, JJ. What up, brother?
Boy, you over there having fun. We start talking about the reducing the population, Bill Gates. I say, what about Bill Gates?
Right? Yeah, man. They got to. I mean, you're gonna have hordes of people that's not working, and that's also gonna contribute to this crime. And it's a lot of things I can get into to explain why he would always harp on getting rid of people. I mean, we can probably go into what kind of people he's going to target primarily.
He's
You know, you're
trying
not
to
talking about
get
getting rid of a lot of white people, right? But
really,
that
man?
in you,
I thought he was trying to get rid of them first thing, huh? Thought he was trying to get
right?
rid of them
I
first
guess we got to
thing,
tell you,
huh?
you see, he's over in Africa, keep trying out new forms of birth control every 5 minutes in the media.
I said you
But
straight whacked on that one, yo.
oh, they got an 8 year plan. They giving people
You
8 year
got-
birth control pills
I'm
over there
not
now.
going for that. I ain't
8 years.
agreeing to none of that you're saying. Just for the record,
Kids at
I
8
am
years.
not in agreement with CD.
Right.
He's
8 years,
definitely
dude.
he's definitely making it up, just for the record. Anyway, man,
Right.
it's a good show, man. You did a great job, bro. I thought you wasn't gonna never throw that damn link down. I said, yeah, you was banging tonight. I say, man, he banging out. Shoot, going to every con house, shooting it up.
Oh,
Hey,
sure. The last drive by, kill shot. Everybody dead now.
oh man,
My
you
name is pseudo killer, not pseudo arguer, not pseudo converter. Pseudo killer.
Facts, bro.
oh man.
Guy
Hey,
pseudo
you know what? It said, and y'all, if I may, I want to ask something about this whole AI thing because I think that a lot of the pseudos have actually blown this thing into something it should have never been. What's happening is that what's the excuse are they going to use that we were doing 5 years ago before you had these AI tools? We were actually communicating these same exact concepts then. It's just that sometimes now we have these tools that can debunk these people in real time. It became a problem. Oh, that's AI. You're not thinking for yourself. Well, what was I thinking 5 years ago when I told you this 5 years ago? See, we're gonna let these people just keep playing with us, bro. It's an excuse at the end of the day for people not to accept information. That's the bottom line.
That's real talk right there. I remember, like, when I'm not saying nothing new, bro. This the philosophy of science and the history of science is a requirement when you go to laboratory school, right? So I'm like, what? Like, you all don't know this stuff? This is not new. This is
Hmm.
not new, right? So again, I said the philosophy of science and the history of science is the only two documents I'm going to use. I said it from the moment we started this discussion. My presentation, I'm not going to go read from Wikipedia. It says it. I'm synthesizing the information. I'm doing an exercise in pedagogy. I'm laying the foundation, and they get shot up around that foundation. That
Hmm.
foundation laid, God Killer put his work in, everybody put his work in, and that foundation was simply there, right? And as long as that foundation was there, we just doing what we doing.
That's right.
So
That's
now,
right.
so now you're moving the goalposts. Well, you're gonna listen. You have modern technology. Take my whole presentation, run it through your Bible, tell it do an assessment, and see what it says. Go ahead. I bet you'll be surprised. No,
Hey,
I didn't have any mistakes in this presentation. Everything was standardized, structured. Everything is chronological. I didn't put dates. I didn't want to do all that confusion. I was talking about frameworks because what I was seeing is that conceptually, people were having a wrong conversation. Science is a philosophy. It's a way of thinking. It has an empirical branch to support these philosophical concepts,
Mhm.
but it is fundamentally a thinking man's game.
Right. Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm gonna be perusing and cruising the YouTube streets to see what other fallacies exist, what other incorrect concepts are out there, and I'll continue to do what I do. I pseudo kill. Reggie has been buried tonight, like he's buried. Don't want to hear Reggie. Don't want to see.
Reggie is funny.
Reggie's been buried. We're done with Reggie. Reggie wants grown individuals with actual comprehension to make a fool of themselves and actually go to Cambridge of all places, and ask them. It says science here. Does it mean the ancients were doing science? You know how stupid we would sound. You know how stupid we would sound as a grown people there. Y'all gotta be crazy. Listen,
Hey, hold on, but as a science communicator, did he really call the ancients messy?
ah man,
He
that
called they he called them messy, bro.
that was wild. That was
I said the audacity, man.
what?
The
Like
audacity.
we here fighting for ancient cultures to have their recognition in their own right, get them the respect they deserve. We are here talking about the empirical knowledge, not the plier, and you gonna say their observations were messy. Wow. So the Egyptians didn't successfully use the helical rising of Cyrus to determine when they were going to plant. That was that messy. What was messy about that? But anyway, folks, y'all see there, we got the triple header for y'all tonight. The space show with Anthony is coming from the galaxy and beyond space. Hey, Anthony, it's his birthday, so I expect everybody to be in the building. Smash the like button on your way out. Make sure when you come back for the next show, we is a marathon tonight. This is a victory lap. Pseudos are done. Tours are done. They're done. It's over. They've thrown all their guns. They've
Ah,
made every
right.
false argument that they can make. Right now, the party is over, so we're doing a victory lap. So tune in to the next show that's coming on tonight. The space show with Anthony, Galaxy and Beyond. Right. Uh, God Killer, you want to say anything before we get out of here? Calling once, calling twice. Go ahead, Sadiq.
Oh, how just get agreeing like, yeah, brother, for sure. Yeah, man. I'm gonna tune into the next show too, brother. Man, great presentation, man. Great to hear the fam and touch and agree on this information and the subject matter is just so necessary nowadays, bro. We're dealing with a new world order, ending with an old world order simultaneously. Elon Musk, I got to see what he means when he said back in front of the transfer he told the Tech Transformer magazine organization that quote unquote we got to merge with machine like into cyborg end quote. You know what I'm saying? This is going to be very interesting as we move forward. We need it, we want it, and we should embrace it, family, for sure, brother. And peace and love to the fam, to the pseudo killer fam. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you. Thank you for coming up here. Thank you for your support. Thank you for those positive words, man. I appreciate it. Hey, Root, any last words, my brother? Hey, you know I'm glad you're up on the panel with me, man. This is what we got to do. We got to do a show where you get it in and we do a bill, my brother. This is what we're talking about, and so we're here now, so we can arrange something and get it in. You have a few
Yeah,
minutes.
absolutely. I'm looking forward to it, bro. Because like I say, I think that at this point now, we didn't cross that threshold where this thing is like blown fully open at this point. And so there's no more excuses for pseudos. There's no more excuses for the nonsense. We got at this point we got to lay it down, and we just got to lay it down right or not at all. So yeah, I'm with it, bro. You know me, man. Normally I'm off on the weekends. We can definitely set some things up and start getting these presentations out.
I appreciate you, my bro.
Yes,
God
sir.
killer, God killer, you got the flow.
No, I'm right here just listening to eat my dinner, man. You know, we had a nice long weekend, good quality information, man. I think everybody falling in line, and I think that's a good thing, yo. We stuck to our guns, yo.
Yeah,
Right? And I think we do the country community a great service when we talk about people that they normally wouldn't talk about. Copernicus, Francis Bacon. What you call him the other day?
Kevin Bacon, food
Kevin
news,
Bacon.
bread news, representation, Louis.
Right, Francis Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
Oh man, you know,
Fried crispy.
Aristotle. You know, Aristotle. Uh, Ptolemy. And don't feel ashamed to do it. You know, the trip been from day one to get us to the point we can understand our history and our story, right? And you know, you can't understand your history and your story if you isolate yourself.
Max.
Yeah, you can't isolate history, yo, and you can't make it just all about you to really learn about you. You gotta learn about the other people in your world, to intermingle in your world. And so it's been a trip for me, and it's a crowning jewel for me, you know, to have brothers and sisters that's willing to fight to really educate our community for real. You know, it's been my thing from day one to give us real quality, high level, institution, expert information that we wasn't getting before, yo. And so we did like humanity did when they broke away from tradition, right? When they broke away from the authority. And it's just a good place right now for us in the community because we have actually broken away from the authority. 8 to 80, blind, crippled, or crazy. Elder or not, it don't matter, right? The mission is in full effect. And, you know, I appreciate everybody. Happy birthday to that space age African, right? That started the Space Age African Astronomy Club with me, man. It was definitely his damn idea. And, you know, I appreciate him for that. And so now we rock the telescopes. The community never was there. Newton, arguing over whether Newton is a scientist or a natural philosopher. We won, fellas. We actually won. So yeah, I appreciate you, Cedric. You've been on them guns real heavy, man. But you know, it's a great day. I just want to say that to all the community and all the support we've been getting, man. Big up.
Yes. Um.
Sir.
Oh shit. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead,
So
Sadiq. You want to
I
say
was
something?
agreeing with God color. Yeah, yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah. Um. It was about a little over 10 years ago. I've told this story several times. I'm gonna say it again, especially after what the God killer just said. Um. Saw this man standing out there, in New York. Well, everyone around him. He declared himself the real black atheist, talked about Darwin, and everyone freaking out. I said, I gotta get next to him. I was watching the community, and he was the only one that was talking the right thing. I said, I'm gonna get close to him somehow. Somehow, he needs somebody like me stand shoulder to shoulder with him, because those around him just let him down. His character, his integrity, what he stands for, has never been in question. Y'all can say what you want about me, but once I see a vision that I can support, someone with integrity who puts his heart in things, right? Engages with you guys in goodwill, and you scam and fraud just abuse the situation, and he continues. That's why I support him. We gonna all make mistakes. We gonna correct each other. What you're never gonna see is what Thunder expect to see. Arguing and fighting up here. Our job is science communicators. So the fight we do is in our Discord so that when we get up here, we give you the most correct and accurate information that we got. Their arguments have been reduced to typos, spelling errors, trying to discredit what we do as a team, trying to put wedges between us, and it is not going to work. Our integrity and what we stand for is separate from our individual personalities. We share a vision, methodological naturalism, presenting you with up-to-date information. We have taken our authority away from those who propose to just make stuff up. First, it was source up. Now, it is the level of the sources and your synthesis of the information. Y'all not getting away. The quality, the level is going to continue to improve. We are going to continue to get better. I appreciate the community for finally embracing science, like Ankh said. We were deemed to be losers and failures because y'all boring. Science isn't the thing. Now, people are talking about natural philosophy, methodological naturalism, Newton, Einstein, Bacon, reading this stuff. Confused or not, I can see once the word entered the lexicon. I appreciate all of you. Stop the combative nature. It's not necessary. You can be much more productive if you support a positive effort. Trying to bring this down is going to ultimately destroy you because there is no way you can stand opposite me. Habitual liars and individuals with no integrity cannot be a team that has one principle: correct and accurate information to the community. And with that, I'm going to say good night. I'm going to take us out. Don't go nowhere. Stay right there. We're going to be back with the space show. This is when I get to sit in the comments and just enjoy Anthony's presentations and his high level understanding of the subject. With that, thank you for being here. Tune in tomorrow, 4 p.m. for another Ced Talks. Consistency. The pseudo killers ain't going nowhere. Are we taking over these YouTube streets? Is that what you want? Not that's what you got. Stay tuned for the space show with Anthony. He'll be up next. With that, I'm gonna take you out.
It's a universal tool for the human race. Discuss Ced Talks, yeah, he said it straight. Cut through the noise, elevate the debate. No pseudo talk, no foggy claims. Just gathered in space when we build these frames. Ced Talks, yeah, clarity first. If it ain't got method, it probably won't work. From ancient knowledge to modern science, we draw that line, that clear defiance. They blur definition, start moving the goalposts. Turn fried to a claim that don't hold close. Science ain't on, this a process refined. Independent of culture, space and time. You can't redefine it to fit identity. That's how you lose all epistemic integrity. We test every claim, we don't just believe. If it can't be verified, we don't receive. From early observers to labs today, it's rigor and doubt that pave the way. Not name dropping scholars to win a debate, but data and method that validate. So what's your ideology? That's cool to ask, but truth ain't decided by the loudest class. We question it all, no sacred ground. If it don't hold up, we break it down. This that Ced Talk, yeah, we live in direct. No fear in the facts, just intellectual respect. No more, no mirror, no fantasy, just truth, logic, and consistency. Yeah. Welcome to Ced Talks, where we separate fact from fiction. Method of omit every time. This that Ced Talk, yeah, we said it straight. Cut through the noise, elevate the debate. No